Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of the Jade Mechanic Podcast. So, we're kind of sitting here discussing coffee this morning, and I'm with a friend of mine who's just over the border in Rochester, New York, Christopher Clingerman. Christopher, how are you this morning, brother?
I'm doing all right, sir. How about yourself?
Very good. And we're just discussing because he might get a Dunkin' order while we're sitting here recording. You might hear the door come in, and his wife might bring him some Dunkin' coffee. And I got asking him, I said, because being a Canadian, we pretty much get weaned on Tim Hortons coffee when we're about 3.5, and then you drink it your whole life. And I was asking him, "Have you got it there?" And he said, "Yes." So, and then he proceeded to say, "Now, don't throw things at him." That he actually prefers the Tim Hortons coffee to the Dunkin's coffee. I can agree. At least he's not drinking Starbucks. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Christopher, tell me a little bit about Rochester this morning. What is it like?
It's not too bad out. It's been a little. The weather's been really just back and forth. I mean, I think it was Monday or Tuesday there last week. I think I was leaving work in t-shirt and pants, and then Wednesday morning I'm going in wearing a hoodie and a winter jacket just because
Yeah.
we're like down in the 20s and the 30s, and it'll be
Yeah.
like that for the whole day.
Same.
So
Yeah.
we had a little bit of snow was coming down last night. I don't think any of it stuck this morning. So hopefully
Yeah.
we're out of that. I'm over it at this point. I already got my winter ride in this year, so I'm happy with it.
Now, when you say winter ride, you mean like snowmobile?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you ever run up to around Tug Hill?
No, I've went up there before with some friends of mine. We went trail riding, but I
Mhm.
actually go out to my parents' house. They've got about 47 acres,
Oh,
and we
nice.
ride out there. We don't got anything new. I mean, I'm riding around on a 74 Ski-Doo 440 fan
Nice.
cooled, and
Nice.
we're just going out there and beating the snot out of her in the snow.
Yeah, my friend Tommy Markham Automotive, he's up on Tug Hill, and he just raves about, I guess the snowmobiling up there. Which I'm one of them Canadians that doesn't own one and hasn't had one in forever, because right down around where I am in Kingston, there's so much lake effect. We don't get a lot of accumulation that lasts. We get snow, but it's kind of the same, right? As soon as it's hitting the ground, it's turning into really hard ice pack, or it's melting. And there's
Okay.
groomed trails, but it's really expensive to ride up here. Insurance on a sled is a lot of money up here because you have to. You're not allowed on the trail without insurance.
Yeah.
It just gets to be a lot of money, and I know so many people around me locally that have machines, and they end up driving to like Labrador, up into Quebec, or over across the border into Tug Hill and stuff like that, where they can get consistent good snow because it just doesn't last here. So the last thing I want to buy is anything that I can't use. I'd rather, have twice the boat and no snowmobile than have a snowmobile that I can't use. So, um,
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, definitely there in the Tug Hill area, or like just like the Adirondack State Park
mhm.
area, they definitely get a lot more snow
Yeah,
than we do. Or I mean, just even towards like the Finger Lakes region. That's actually where I grew up. So we're like right in between Rochester and Syracuse there. It's where my folks live.
yeah,
And how the usually the storms come up, they'll come up like Lake Erie there, and they'll slam Buffalo,
yeah,
and we'll catch a bit of it, and then it'll go up into Lake Ontario, and then
mhm,
it'll come right back down into like the Oswego area,
yeah.
and just get pounded. It's really weird. So definitely the last I could say probably like 12 years, it hasn't really been like as good as snowfall as like when my parents were growing up, or even when I was just a real young kid. So
Yeah.
and
I
then
want to take a fishing trip sometime and do the Finger Lakes because I've heard about them for years. Like some of the Finger Lakes have got some really good largemouth bass, right, in them,
mhm,
like good size for being a northern section. And spots around Syracuse and some of those lakes and stuff. I've known some of the guys that come up from the elite series. They've caught 9 pound largemouth out of those lakes. Like that's absolutely ridiculous for a northern lake to have a largemouth that big in it, right? Like we don't have that where I am. So
absolutely, like I mean I grew up on actually the Seneca River. It connects Cayuga Lake to Seneca Lake.
Yeah.
So I had, 24 access to go fishing, kayaking right there. And
Promotive is always free for technicians and service advisors. You can contact them with questions, share your resume with them, and they'll add you to the national database that showcases your resume with thousands of shops across America. And it stays private and secure. They don't sell your data or resume to other companies. They don't pressure you to take any jobs that you're contacted about. They only want you to find the best possible fit for your career. Contact Promotive today.
the you could pull anything out of there you want, like bluegills, sunfish to carp, crappies,
Yeah.
bullhead, well, you name it. And I mean, not all of them are like perfect record holding fish, but like just you're not going to go out there and not catch something.
Yeah.
If you do, you're doing something terribly wrong.
Yeah, it's a beautiful part of the state. I always enjoy driving through. Whether it's to go to Syracuse or like in 5 weeks' time of driving down to Pennsylvania, and I'll drive through that stretch, and it's just beautiful. So, kind of tell me a little bit about what you do in Rochester, where you work, and kind of how you got into that.
So I actually just about 2 years ago, I made a slight transition from I used to work on tractor trailers,
Hmm.
over the road tractor trailers. Now I'm actually working on school buses. I did just do a recent change to a different company, still doing the same thing. They're just more a lot bigger of a company, union, so
Mm,
just a lot better benefits and a lot better pay.
yeah.
Overall, my career, I've been more of a fleet mechanic than anything. Um, when I've had the chance, I have worked two jobs, and I've worked a couple part time jobs at dealerships, just being a loop tech and whatnot,
Yeah.
just to help out. And I had good relationships with the service managers there. So, but I mean, that's pretty much me. I graduated high school. I didn't go to a 2 year college or anything like that. I did BOCES while I was in high school for my
Okay.
junior and senior year,
Yeah.
and right out of the gate, I graduated. I was actually already working part time at a fleet shop, a local outfit, and I just went full time, and the wheels haven't stopped since then.
When you were at the
I've
dealer, what brand?
I've worked for GM. I've worked for a Chevy dealer, and
Okay.
then I've also worked for a Hyundai as well.
Oh, I've not done a GM dealer yet. I haven't done a Ford dealer yet either, but I did a stint at Hyundai, and that was, yeah, that was kind of right before the whole engine thing started happening, like where they
Mhm.
just seasoned up. I did one of the first ones that we'd ever seen, back before there was a recall or they were really rampant, and I just remember that they all leaked a lot of oil, and they were, the customers were. A different kind of breed to get used to, I guess you could say, because the 10-year warranty that wasn't really 10 years, right? It was lots of red tape in there, and it was
Mhm.
interesting to get to know them and see that compared to the Chrysler dealer, because it was a different thing, different type of, certainly different type of car. Not all terrible, like they weren't. It's just it was a very, I'll say that about Hyundai and Kia. They're very smart in the sense that they don't stray too far out of their lane. You know what I mean? Like Genesis is as far out of the, I'll say, the econobox idea that they get from. You know what I mean? They don't say, "Oh, let's try a truck," or like they just stick to what's you know easy for them to market and sell. So
Right. No, for sure. And I mean, I know I know a lot of people will probably not like this, but to me they're pretty they're just they're not
yeah.
practical. They're what they do, what goes wrong with them.
Mhm.
It's very predictable. Like, I don't like Chrysler products. Like right now, I know they're just having some really terrible electrical issues.
Mhm.
I had a former coworker. He bought his wife, I think, a 24, 25 Durango,
Yeah.
and just nonstop issues with just the radio.
Yeah. You
Just
can.
connect. Yeah, yeah, and the dealer wants to say it's like it's their phone. It's like, no, it's not my phone. Like,
My name is Alvin. I'm a mechanic here at FS Automotive. With TechMetric, I can do a complete DVI, which is the visual inspection, take a picture, send it to Miss Wendy, the service writer, and then she can inform the customer and she can send over the pictures I saw. So basically, 3 sets of eyes on everything. So it kind of makes it easier on both sides for the customer and for the mechanic as well. So it kind of really bridges the gap. And like I said, customers feel better with it. A lot of people are honest, but there's a lot of dishonest people out there. I'm just gonna go ahead and tell the truth, shame the devil. Anyway, but with TechMetric, you kind of eliminate that questionable area, that gray area, I guess you could say, because they can see what you're seeing and then they feel more comfortable with it. Overall, the system is jam up. I love it.
and I think before I left, like he's talking about going like full blown like lemon law and like going after them and having them buy the car back, and it's like that's
My
crazy.
my good friend Dan, he's been on twice now. He's got a Durango from that vintage. About I want to say Dan's might be a 23 or
Mhm.
22, and it's been in the shop more times for Uconnect problems than anything else. That's it. That's just nonstop. Does not work, and I don't think he's too far gone now for lemon law. But I mean, it's just frustrating, right? We had the little clip that's gone viral with Fluffy and I talking about how people think that's the greatest thing in the feature to buy a car based on, but they're so. I just look at it now and it scares me. I get into like any of the Chryslers like 18 and up and the bigger screens and I'm just like, I don't want that, man, because I don't even want to think about replacing it. Now, the aftermarket comes through is always what they do, and go on to Timu and buy yourself a head unit for a couple $100 and like what plugs right in and great. But it just
Right.
scares me, right? Like I wish the OE would get it right. So
No, no, I totally get that. I mean, we're not having so much issues with that with actually my wife's car.
mm.
She's got a Nissan Rogue.
Oh,
She's got a 24 Rogue with one of those new 3-cylinder 1.5 turbos.
do you find it rides rough? Like it runs really rough
Yeah,
idle?
d- yes, and it almost like stutters. We've been going back and forth to the dealer with it lately, and like I'm talking to him and talking to the service manager, and it's like I get it, like you can't find anything, but you can't sit here and tell me I'm the only one. Like
Oh no, they're
I listen to people talking about this all the time. I read up on a couple of Facebook groups that I'm in, and I actually ended up reaching out to a good friend of mine that's a service manager at another Nissan dealer out in
mhm,
actually the Auburn area, and he did look up on whatever it's called, Nissan World there,
yeah.
and he's actually found a couple of people that have had the same issues, and like they've gone in and replaced a couple of random things that have allegedly fixed it, but there's also been full blown transmission replacements already, and
Yeah.
it's
We have I think three or four on the lot right now, and all of them have especially when you first start up cold, and they're just really rough idle, or you engage the AC, the idle flares a lot, drops right down, and
yes.
you phone up the dealer, and the dealer says pretty much as long as it doesn't stall out, we don't do anything with it. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah, and that's where we're at, and my wife's just like pissed about it. Like now we've just accepted it. She's like, when this thing just dies, like I'm I'm just calling the tow and it's gonna go right there. And I was like, that's all that we can do at this point.
Yeah, and
Now, actually, while
Fluffy,
we're sitting, no,
go
go
ahead, sir.
ahead.
Fluffy was saying he's done quite a few of the engines now. That one five
Mm,
three at his dealer down in Texas because they're blowing up, or whatever they do to constitute, I guess, a replacement. You get a complete lawn block, I guess, but he said the same thing when I had him on. They just run rough, really rough. It's kind of expected, right? A 3-cylinder is going to be. You think about the crank variants there. That's a lot. Hard to
yeah,
balance out, right? Like it really is. So yeah.
yeah. Like it's to me, it just doesn't make it almost doesn't make sense. Like who else did a? I think it was Toyota.
And Geo
They did a
Metro,
three they did a
yeah.
three cylinder turbo Corolla there, and like it's pushing out like 300 horse. It's insane.
Your auto repair shop doesn't slow down, and neither should your tools. When diagnostics get more advanced, systems get smarter, and vehicles get more complex, one name keeps shops moving forward: Launch Tech USA. From powerful diagnostic tools to ADAS calibrations, wheel alignments, TPMS service, even heavy duty solutions, Launch Tech USA delivers speed, accuracy, and control where it matters most. Faster, smarter, more diagnostics done right the first time. Whether you're working on passenger vehicles, fleets, EVs, or advanced driver systems, Launch Tech USA gives your technicians the confidence to tackle anything that rolls into your base. Backed by constant software updates, expanding vehicle coverage, and real support from real experts, Launch Tech USA isn't just keeping up. We're pushing the industry forward. So if you're ready to work faster, diagnose better, and stay ahead of the curve, visit our website at www.launchtechusa.com. Yeah.
I just, I've never driven one, nor have even gotten to like really look at it, but I would be really interested just to see. It's like, how does this thing ride? How does this all like balance out and like run as smooth like as it does? Because I haven't heard really anything about them. I think here and there, I think I've heard one story a couple years ago. One like caught fire allegedly,
Mhm. Yeah.
and I don't know if there was anything aftermarket done to it or not. But there was a whole lawsuit for that, I believe, with the owner, and
Yeah.
it was a mess.
Now, is there something that made you choose fleet versus kind of the part-time gig, as at the dealerships, or was it just a situation of the right job came along?
Uh, it was more just like that was, I think, just like the first opportunity that I got. I mean, I actually got that job. Like I said, I was still in high school. I started working there part time. My BOCES teacher, Friday just before the weekend, we were leaving. He's like, "Hey, there's an open house at this company. Like, I'm going. If any of you guys go, I'm gonna give you some sort of like extra credit for it and whatnot." And I was just like, "All right, bet. Like, I'll go." So ended up going there the following week. Got to meet the owner and a couple other the head honchos there,
Mm,
and they seemed pretty impressed. And I went in for an interview. We discussed things, and then next thing you know, I started working.
very
I
cool.
was doing, I don't know, 20 hours a week just after school. Like, I'd go there, work a couple hours from like three to seven, 3 to 8 after school, and then I think I was working Sundays. I'd go work all day on Sunday from like 8 to 6 or something,
Mhm.
whatever. And then after I graduated, I think like 2 weeks after that, I was like, yeah, I'm ready to go full time. And they're like, all right, well, we got a spot on second shift available for you. You'll work 2 to midnight. You good with that? And we'll give you a bump in
Yeah.
pay to, I think I was making like $13 an hour at that time. And I was like, yeah, sure. And then the rest has been history.
Yeah.
I've, I think actually the GM dealer that I did work at, I actually had left that shop to go there because, um, I was like, oh, the dealer, I can get all these certifications and all the training and whatnot. And granted, yeah, I was steering away from heavy duty back down to light duty,
Mhm.
but I figured the experience that I would get there and like all that would be more worth it in the long run for me. And to me, I don't really care what I work on. I just enjoy
Yeah.
wrenching.
Right.
That's just my passion. I don't really got anything else for me. And I was there probably about a year, and the the political drama
Mhm.
and the all the promises that they made just ended up turning up empty handed. And it's just, to me, it's like, why I'm not going to sit here and just keep changing oil, or
Yeah.
I'm going to keep taking on these crappy warranty jobs that, one, I don't even know what I'm doing half the time. Because I
Right.
mean, I was 2 years 3 years into being a tech, and like I was still just learning the basics, just doing brakes and tires and stuff like that. Like, you want me to pull a heater core out of this Buick Encore in an hour? Like,
Yeah.
what?
Well,
No, that's
and that's what's so crazy, right? Like it's the same old song. Like I've talked to so many guys and I've worked with so many guys and I've watched it firsthand. When they're good at the quick lube side of stuff, the dealer never wants to move them up. They want to keep them there because they need an effective person there. But then the next day, it could be like you've done nothing but oil changes and somebody hands you something and goes, here's a wind noise at like 65 miles an hour. Go figure it out. And it's like, if you've never been shown how to really start to isolate where a noise is in a car, you
mhm.
can spend so much wasted time tearing the car apart, putting tape on over the paint, which then lifts like you just make a mess. And, why are they giving it to you? Because it's such a crap job that nobody else is going to do it. And everybody else has said, I'm not doing it. And it has to get done. So, and then you're in that role doing it. We know what sometimes the mentorship looks like in a dealership. Did you have at least any kind of mentorship there, or was it just throw you to the wall and see what
it,
sticks?
it was kind of just like thrown to the wolves. I mean, the one guy that I worked with there, I worked alongside. He was just in the next bay to me. He guided me on a lot of stuff, but like so between him and like a couple of the guys there, like they were a good group,
Right.
but they just a lot of just bickering and whatnot between them, and then just the corporate side of it coming down, and like you know they would get mad. And then I think like the biggest thing for me there that bothered me was like I was still hourly
Mm-hmm.
and doing all this work, and like sometimes there'd be a slow day and I'm not doing a whole lot, but like I'm still getting
Get
sitting there
paid.
getting paid. And I would ask like, hey, like what do you want me going doing? I don't want to just stand here or send me home. Like I
Yeah.
got better stuff I can go and do at home. Like no, 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 we need you here. We're going to get a rush. We've got 20 appointments, 5 show up. And it's like, what are we doing?
And I always, because I knew what that felt like, right? You could just sense it and feel it in the dealership. Because, like, when I was at Chrysler, there was a point there where I was hourly. And, some days when there was no work coming in, you just knew, like, don't even talk to them. You know what I mean? Like, if you're doing something, and then heaven forbid, like, you ever did an upsell, because then it was all the comments came out, right? And it wasn't like you were in charge of what necessarily got dispatched to you. You were supposed to get as straight time, hourly tech, whatever you want to call it. You were
Yeah.
supposed to get crap. You were like crap work. You were supposed to. It's how you're supposed to learn. But man, if you got something that at least, everybody would be like, well, that would have been a good ticket. And I'm just like, you can't win for lose.
Yeah. Like I can't help it that, Mrs. Jones here decided to, be like, oh yeah, do the coolant flush, the brake flush, and, do a warranty alignment or whatever on it. Like, she's 30,000 miles and says it's pulling, like, and that paid, I think that paid like 1.2 or something along with the rest of it. And it's like, oh, well, I'm not making, 40 hours this week. It's like, well, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like,
you get handed, what happened to me. I would get handed something like an oil change and a warranty check engine light. And you would do the oil change and you'd rack the car and you'd start, and it'd be, oh, it needs brakes. Sell the brake job. It needed a tie rod. Chrysler's Caravans used to always need at least one, most of the time two. So you'd turn what was supposed to be a warranty ticket into a decent ticket. And then all the comments would start coming out, right? And I was just like, what do I do here? And so what do you think? Should they take that job and give it to a flat rate tech and then you don't even learn how to do it?
no, like how are you supposed to, you know, you're at hourly for a reason. They're putting you there till, especially if you've never been to a flat rate shop. Like, how are you
Mhm.
supposed to get comfortable with, turning hours and making hours so that you can just make a living, and just let
Yeah.
alone just get a general idea of the product, So no, I think that yeah, you should be able to take on that ticket, whether you sell, whatever it is, you get the hours for it. It shouldn't be going to anybody else. And then if you're proceeding to do that, and like you're actually starting to like turn 40 hours a week or more, then yeah, then that's the time to go have the conversation with your tech, like, hey, you're doing really good, you're starting to turn hours, and
Mhm.
like I don't think you need to be hourly anymore, like, we'll give you a little pay bump, like you're doing well, you're learning, that's an achievement.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Because, and I'm not for the dealerships that, because I've talked to some people and they're like, well, they put in a fast lane and all of a sudden now they want, the low skill guys hanging brakes and they want the low skill guys doing all the flushes. I'm not for that because I believe that like all you really do then is take a bunch of people in the back with all your certifications that you need and you cut their, payoff because they can't get gravy. And it just absolutely kills the culture in the shop. But I mean, like, if I diagnosed a car, they never took it from me and gave it to somebody else because they were a flat rate ever. Like that was just a situation of it just didn't happen.
Mm.
And a lot of it I saw it firsthand. Like you'd see the yeah, I don't know how it was for you, but you would see the work orders piled in the queue or in the office, and they'd be like, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. They'd rather sit on their toolbox.
Hmm.
Which, listen, I understand. I've done that too. And then all of a sudden you pull the ticket, you know, 20,000 miles, check engine light, and you're like, hey, this thing's got smoked brakes. The rotors are rotted or rotors are shot. And then they're all of a sudden, it just keeps going on and on and on. And I was thankful that when I was hourly, they just gave me, a lot of the jobs that were looked like electrical and drivability, but allowed me to do the oil change and allowed me to do the inspection while I was doing them, because that's how I learned to, take a crap ticket into a good ticket. That's how I learned to eval a car, all that kind of important stuff. I was thankful. I just wish the grumbling hadn't have been there when I had to do it. Same as you. So
Right. No, I think that's definitely like the big thing. Like, and it's nothing against the guys that are flat rate and they've been there. Like, no, it's not. I'm not sitting here saying that you guys shouldn't get the flushes. You should be sitting there doing engine diag, long blocks, all the warranty work. No, I'm not saying that's the case.
yeah,
We're having a slow week, or it's just like heavy, say a heavy customer pay week or whatever. That doesn't mean that it should just all go to the new guy or the hourly guys to try and get them to that point. No, you should be, you should be feeding your good techs that you know that take care of you guys, and they know what they're doing. It should
yeah.
all, as best as possible, try to get distributed out evenly. It's not always going to work out like that. It just depends on who's going to walk through that door today.
Yeah. Now, so when you went to the fleet shop, what did they have you doing right off the hop?
Right off the hop, I was just doing a lot of PM. So doing oil changes and just inspections of doing a PM inspection over the vehicle. So going through checking lights, checking some drivability. With being heavy duty, I didn't have a CDL yet, so
Yeah.
I'm not able to go out on the roads with them. But beep bob through the yard and whatnot. You hear this clunking noise. Remind yourself about it when you get it in. So
Mm-hmm.
you're going through doing all that, checking fluids, checking pretty much everything, like engine
Wasting a lot of
belts. Any sort of fluid leaks. U joints, brakes, wheel seals, you name it. Or cab fairings like starting to fall off, like whatever.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's pretty much the nitty gritty of it all, where that's you're going to go find all that, and then that's what's going to open up your doors to, you know, getting into that. It just depends on what you bring in
Mhm.
that day.
Yeah, I remember still like we'd start out, greasing the truck. And, I still remember being on a creeper. We didn't have a pit, the first shop that I was at.
Yep.
And, rolling along on a creeper and banging on the brake chambers to see if there was a broken coil inside, right? And checking the brake stroke and like all that kind of stuff. Like you said, looking for wheel seals and looking for checking tire pressures and all the lights and all that kind of stuff. Like I learned very quickly how to like start to troubleshoot basic electrical systems by looking at just doing light repairs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, the whole fairing is not lit up. Well, that's not one bulb then, right?
Yeah.
And you just learn that. Like it's and people are like, well, that seems pretty straightforward, but yeah. But think about now we've seen the GM trucks come in and they're missing a ground to one bank and it's got 4 coils that don't run. You can approach that the same method that you approach, lights on one fairing that don't light up. It's a what is it? It's a basic circuit.
Yeah.
Thank God I got exposed to that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, I was so fortunate that my first boss just let me look at that kind of stuff because it built my foundation. I hated greasing trucks, especially in the wintertime. That was terrible. I don't know how many times I got electrocuted from you reach over and you grab the old corded trouble light and your elbow hits the puddle and the light cord's been driven over and all of a sudden, like the shock goes up your arm and you punch something, inadvertently, and it's just like, yeah, snow dripping on you. It was good times. The summertime was cool. I liked because we do a lot more work outside in the summer, and that was a lot nicer because you could be out in the sun. It was warm out. But the wintertime sucked.
Yeah,
sucked. I hated it.
Especially if they're just like coming right in off the road, like, oh, just got done doing a delivery. That first company I was telling you about, they were we had 3 separate divisions within the company. So we had a milk hauler division. There was another one that hauled freight, and then there was another one that hauled like gas, diesel, oil, jet fuel, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they were very heavy milk and milk products haulers, so cream, all that.
Yeah.
Some of the places weren't too bad where they had to go, but then there was but the straight trucks, so just a truck with a tanker on the back, it's not a trailer or anything, they're going through the worst of it. Oh yeah, you gotta go over to the pump house, through 3 fucking paddy fields, and then you come back and the whole thing's just caked. You don't know if it's mud or cow shit, and
and
probably better off just thinking it's mud.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than stale, rotted milk mixing with manure. There's no other worse stench. We had livestock haulers where I worked later on in my career, and it was the worst. It was terrible. I'd rather work on garbage trucks than work on pigs. Were even worse than cattle, but cattle were almost as bad. But pig trucks were worse. Like, it was just gross. I don't know how many trucks I've been underneath and the pigs were still in there. Oh, like, it was
just up there squealing away, like don't know what's going on, and they're just losing their minds.
Yeah. And I'm a dumb, like, I didn't grow up on a farm. I worked on a ton of farms, but I'm thinking, oh, that might be cute. No, they don't want anything to do. They don't want to be petted. They're, like you said, they're freaking out.
Yeah.
Or cattle were a little more. Yeah. Pigs were the worst. Pigs they just stink. It's a different type of gross. And the rotten milk smell.
Probably the worst thing that I ever experienced there at that shop. For whatever reason, there was a trailer that it got sat out in the yard. I think the load got like rejected because for whatever reason, because they gotta like take a sample, test it, whatnot. They're checking for like the enzymes or something like that. I believe got rejected, so they brought it back, and well, they forgot about it. They forgot about it for a week. It sat in the yard. Mind you, this was the middle of July. Then it got, they told the driver, oh yeah, go hook up to, whatever trailer that is out there. You're going to go to such and such and then bring it back here, and it's going to go out to, the plant. They're like, okay. Well, they hook up to it, and he was smart enough. He had been around the block a few times, and he's like, this thing's loaded. Why is it? And he went back there, he opened up the valves, and that trailer was still half loaded with I don't even know what. But guess who was the lucky one who got to crawl into both tanks of that trailer and rinse that out?
Christopher.
That was the worst. Maggots and everything. I puked in there. I told him flat, I was like, I don't know, like, if our cleaning is good enough, but like that needs to go somewhere. That was terrible, and I'm going home now. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go home and
Going home,
scrub myself.
burn my clothes. Yeah, I'm never eating yogurt again. Yeah, it was. Oh, yeah. I didn't have to get down in the tanks, but like it was bad enough. Yeah, I had that, and I had a heating oil fleet. That was pretty cool
Mm,
because it was mostly just taken essentially like way back then. Oil for a furnace is very close to diesel, so you just smelled like diesel all the time.
yeah,
But we had these big long reels on the back of the truck that would run the hose out. And I can remember they would come in and they had this goofy electric motor and this chain up to the big sprocket.
yeah.
And they would always be in the worst possible place and then kick the chain off. And, and then they would come in and they were just livid because they had to wind the chain in by hand to get this, sometimes like, 100 feet of hose, this big
Yeah, like
friggin'
3 inch
hose.
hose.
Yeah, and they'd come in just angry as shit, and you would take off the chain, you'd knock a link out, right? Because shorten the chain because of the stretch, put it back on, send them on their way, and it was like you're just sitting here looking at this, and then it's like there's such a better way to do this. Like, why are we not running a belt? Why are we running a chain? I'm talking, it was like just like a bicycle chain, right? It's just. And so many things I learned, like there's such a better way to do this. But again, it's all just price.
Right.
Right. Well, we can put a chain drive on it for next to nothing.
Hmm.
If we put belts on it, it costs more. And the pulleys, and I was just like, I'm so done with this. So done with it. That's
Uh,
why when I got the job to switch to automotive, I was like, yeah, get me out of here. Get me off the side of the road and out of the, manure trucks and everything else. Um, what what was what was the first really cool job that you got to do working in the truck shop?
Probably we're gonna go forward a couple of years. I ended up actually working at um, Mac Volvo dealer up here
Okay.
in Rochester, um, and I actually ended up going through. I replaced the entire fuel system on this Volvo
Wow.
day cab. I think it's a D13. Yeah, because I
Okay.
yeah yeah they Volvos have the D13s. Detroit's are the DD13s, I believe. Guy
Hmm.
you know guy made a mistake, put 30 gallons of DEF in this thing, and ran it. And they got it towed in. Oh, don't know what's going on, and check the tank, and it's like, yep, well, there's that's not supposed to be there.
Oh.
And we reached out to Volvo themselves and was like, this truck's it's been ran, like, we've started it up just to get it into the shop, like runs like crap. We can drain the tank, but like, what about everything else? Because this was all they wanted to try and get it under warranty, but
Yeah.
since, well,
No.
it's user error, it's not going to get covered. And corporate's like, yep, you got to go through and replace like every metal line on it, any rubber line or anything you have to just flush out,
Mhm.
with water or diesel fuel or whatever, just to get it out of there. So the fuel pump had to get replaced, injectors had to get replaced, all the lines for the injectors as well had to get replaced. I think a couple, like a distribution valve for
Yeah.
for both fuel tanks, that like so they can evenly like pull from each other, that had to get
Hmm.
replaced. That was pretty cool. That was a couple, probably like 2 days, 3 days maybe, just going through, like just cleaning a lot of it, and then dropping the
Yeah.
tank off, to wheeling it outside, getting all the fuel out, and then just rinsing it.
Yeah.
Because once you put that's the thing with DEF, like all you got to do to dilute it is just pour water on it. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter hot or cold. It's just like coolant nowadays. Like back in the day, dumping, you spill coolant or whatever, it was a whole big thing. Like now, yeah, it's still not great, but you can just dilute it with mixing it with water, and eventually it
Yeah.
won't be that harmful.
Yeah. And I remember when I first saw the first hydraulic system on, and I can't even remember what it was, and it ran vegetable oil
Mm,
instead of, or like plant based vegetable oil instead of a AW32 hydraulic oil. And I'm like, why did they do that? And they're like, oh, well, there's a mandate that says, when they're up here at a farm or something, they have to run an oil that if it should hit the ground, right, from the hydraulic side of things. I'm not talking the engine oil, guys. I'm talking the hydraulic system, skid steers and that kind of stuff. It wasn't going to be, death to the soil. You know what I mean? Like by dropping AW32 on it. It was just regular old vegetable oil. And yeah, you didn't want to spill a bunch of it. But if it did go on the ground, it didn't hurt anything. It's peanut oil. It's canola. Like it's good stuff. But that was the first thing that freaked me out when I first saw it. And I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. So, DEF is just disgusting, stupid stuff. I mean, it's just, I've had them where they're, you know, they've been contaminated, and it's just a mess, man. And then again, same thing. Like I always saw it happen on older trucks that were and then it's like, they didn't replace the injectors. Then the thing would come in and you do one injector and you'd ship it and it'd be back next month and another injector and another, and so on and so on and so on. And you just kept going in circles,
You're pulling them out and the tips are just like blown right off on them. And they're just like, I don't get why. It's like, well, you should have done a 6-pack and just done them all. But, either you're just being cheap or the warranty company is like, well, if it's only injector 5 that's not at full capacity working here, we're just going to do that one, regardless if it's ran 30 gallons of death through it and spitting and sputtering something fierce.
And we know eventually it's going to go to the other. You just know that it will. It's just a matter of time. But fleet managers are funny people to deal with. I get what they're going through, but they are some of the, I don't want to say obstacles, but there's some of the challenges for sure of fixing some of this stuff right is fleet managers. What do you see any of the deleted stuff where you are?
No. I haven't really seen anything deleted. I don't really think anywhere I worked, they all had just, newer equipment. I mean, when I first started back in 2016. So, the DEF and everything was already out full bore. I think that the only thing that I believe has really changed since then is they've combined the DPF and the SCR system into the one. They call it the one box now. Now it's just one big unit that has both systems in it, instead of you got one here and then you got another one there. Why? It's got to be some sort of cost effective thing, or whatever have you be. Other than that, I really haven't been around like any older equipment or even deleted equipment besides just some buddies of mine that they got diesel trucks. They went through, did the EGR delete and all that, and all that stuff.
And New York takes it pretty serious, right? Like I was talking to a guy, he's in Montana yesterday, and it isn't such a big deal. Like the government never even checks, right? Like you're not supposed to, but if the truck rolls in, it's, oh well, Whereas I think New York, I've heard lots of guys say that it's a much stricter state about it, and I cannot understand why. New York's always been on board with the emissions testing and all that kind of stuff. They're not going to allow you to just turn a blind eye to it, right? So
yeah, no, they're definitely a lot harder about that here. There was, I don't know if it's been implemented yet, or I know they were talking about going and actually doing smog testing on like light duty, heavy duty pickup trucks because of all this. Like, people are doing this, and it's a lot of it's like, and this isn't to, like bash anybody out there, but you got the people that they just want to blow black smoke and, just think it's cool. And it's like, yeah, I'm all for it. Like, balls to the wall, let that thing eat. I'm all for it. But when you start acting like an idiot out on the roadway and attracting yourself to it, that's when it's going to start having a negative impact on everybody else. And then this is what it's coming about. So now everyone gets affected by it.
And I saw a lot of those trucks, come in when I used to work there. And same thing, guys were putting stacks on Cummins trucks and yanking off this and yanking off that. And the reality was, you'd get pulled over for blowing black or just being, really loud.
Yeah.
We always found other safety violations wrong with the truck at the same time. Like, and it wasn't just a little bit bad. It was like really bad, like bald tires, ball joints falling. And I don't mean loose ball joints. I mean like really loose steering. Brakes, were shot. Like, because let's be real, the young kids that were doing it, it's like, can I look cool at the corn roast, with the stacks at the side of my truck, or do I stop effectively? I want to look cool, and all of a sudden it's like, listen to my turbo blow off, and it's like, but I can't stop, or the tires are bald, or we used to see it too, and it's like they'd have a lift in it, and they'd be running around on these little like stock tires and rims, and you're like, what happened? Oh, I curbed a rim, and I can't get another one. And so I'm running back these, and you're like, you look so retarded right now. Like, it's just like
6-inch lift with like 18s on there. It's like,
Tow mirrors with no hitch. Like, that was just the coolest thing in the world to me. Tow mirrors with no hitch. I'm like, what the F?
That's great. That's great.
Or the tow mirrors, and they have like a jet ski on a trailer on the back. I'm like, you guys are just so special. It's not even funny.
and it's like, for me, it's like, do what you want. Like, do what you want your truck. Like, don't get me wrong. There's stuff that I want to do in mine. I got a 2020 Silverado. Love it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I went and put some beefier tires on it. I got some 275, 775 R18, Goodyear Wrangler MTs on there. I live up in the city. Am I going off road and whatnot all the time or anything like that? Absolutely not. But, I'll tell you what, when we were getting that snow up here, I was not the one doing 20 miles an hour down the road. I was doing the speed limit, and it didn't faze me. And, some people will be like, oh, well, you're the reason that this is going to cause an accident because you got no idea what you're going to lose control. And it's like, no, it's not that I don't know what I'm doing or I just want to be an ass on the road. It's I know what my truck's capable of, and I'm still not going to be an idiot about it. Like, the people that are weaving in and out of traffic on the highways and then, banking the off-ramp corner at 60 miles an hour with a foot of snow on the ground. Yeah, no, that's the idiot. And I watch it firsthand.
Tires, with their bald tires and their, all-wheel drive, I don't want Rogue just wind up because it's not four-wheel drive, but they're driving. I got four-wheel drive. No, actually, you don't have four-wheel drive, and you have bald tires. Slow the F down.
That is probably the biggest thing that I like. That just eats me about people. It's like, I don't understand. I have all-wheel drive, and I don't know what happened. It's like, okay, but you do know that it's not all-wheel drive all the time. What do you mean? Right. No, so it's either. It's either going to be front wheel drive, or I think Subaru is like either, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think Subaru is either they remain in front wheel drive, or it's actually rear wheel until it starts detecting the wheel slippage, and then it'll actually come in and out.
They by far have the best all wheel drive system in the sense that it's in four wheel, essentially it's in all wheel all the time, right? Okay. And then it's. Whereas if you look at I'm not trying to pick on Nissan, but if you look at how, and at Hyundai, same thing.
Yep.
They're built with the idea of it's a front wheel drive car, and then we run a tiny little drive shaft to the back, and we have this coupler on the front on that diff, which most of the time is not working. So even though the drive shaft's spinning around, you're not driving the wheels because the electronic magnet in the coupler has failed. But people are just like, I'm driving a four-wheel drive. No, you're not. You're driving now front-wheel drive car that's got some extra weight in the back, which I guess is good. I remember my brother, God bless him, he bought a Ranger in 2011, and he bought it in two-wheel drive. And I was like, he brought it home to me, and he was so happy. It was the first new truck he'd ever bought. And I'm like, oh, God, can we take this back? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you're never going to be able to go anywhere in the wintertime in this thing. Like, it's going to be, no, it'll be fine. And I'm like, okay. And like, we would load that thing with patio stones, and it did not matter. It was terrible. It was the worst thing I've ever driven in the snow. The only thing worse than that was again, I'm really old. My dad's, my uncles, my grandfathers all had square body Chevs, all 2-wheel drive. They didn't buy 4-wheel. And, but back then you just throw chains on the back or snow tires and you got around.
Yeah.
And they were terrible in the snow. They were awful, because again, I drove one, and in college, I was driving an 80 short box Chev truck, 2-wheel drive. I was in Ottawa in the wintertime, snow, no weight in the back because the box was so rotten the tailgate wouldn't hang on, so you couldn't put weight back there. And it's amazing I didn't die or end up on the roof because, like, I was stupid. I drove like an idiot. Like, and if you were stuck, you just gave it more throttle.
Yep.
And eventually you got out. You just rocked it out and you throw some U-joints in it next week because you tore them up. That was the worst it ever drove, but his Ranger was worse than that because it had no power.
Right.
So
what did it have? The what was it? The little 2.4 4-cylinder, I think, that they put in them.
He had the 4-liter 6.
Okay.
But it had both cats were plugged. And we were waiting for the cats to eventually hollow, and they did. But it was just gutless. It was terrible, and then again, it rotted like everything does. You see rust where you are, right? Like,
Yeah, it's so bad. But I will say, like, it's funny. My first, I've had more 2-wheel drive pickups than I have had 4-wheel. This is only my second truck with 4-wheel drive in it, or no,
Okay.
third, because I've had two Fords. I had a Dodge 1500, and I've had 2 Chevys now. My first truck, that was a 94 Ford OBS with a 300 straight 6 in it.
They were good, eh?
Yeah, single cab long bed. That, I believe, that actually had it wasn't a posi rear end. That was like a limited slip. That was a limited slip rear end in it, and like that, the thing ain't going fast, but it'll pull whatever you want it to. And like, it was funny, like you're saying, the patio stones, those big square gray stones. Actually did the same exact thing. I had like two layers. I just go from the center of the wheel well to the other one, be right above the axle. I think I had some cheap Walmart Dextero tires on that thing, and dude, that was a tank. I loved it. Like, as long as you didn't stop, it was great.
I almost bought it was a 78 Ford with an automatic and an inline 300, and I almost bought it when I was in high school. And my father, who at the time had never owned a Ford and was never going to own a Ford, was like, "You're not bringing that home." And I was like, "Yes, Dad." And that's how I wound up with the square body. But like, that engine was, I remember the first guy ever hired me, we worked in a truck shop, and he had one with like 400,000 kilometers on it. It was like a 78, 79. All the emission stuff years ago had been taken off and plugged up, like the EGR and all that jazz. And that thing, like, I think it got one oil change a year, maybe. And he just would pour, and it just ran and ran and ran and ran. It had 4-wheel drive. It had a plow on it for plowing the lot, for the truck lot. Like, it was the most durable truck I'd ever seen. I mean, ugly, but like, you couldn't. They need to build trucks like that again. Your Silverado, are you running the diesel or are you running the gas?
I'm running gas. I got the 5.3 in it.
Well, that's better than the new stuff.
Yeah, better than that 6.2 liter. I mean, I still got to run into, with the active fuel management, the lifters failing and whatnot. And like, I bought it. Actually, my wife bought it for me for my birthday. We got it used there, so it's got a good warranty on it. When it definitely goes out, like, I'll just run as long as I can. And when, like, that does fail, I'm gonna find a shop that will just go through and do, the DOD on it, and while we're at it, we're gonna throw a stage two cam in that thing and just let her purr a little bit. After that, just keep running it.
How's the transmission holding up?
So far it's pretty good. I know, I guess that one's got the eight speed in it. I don't have the 10 speed, so
Yeah.
I know there's a lot. I don't know if there's more issues with the eights or the tens. I think they're both kind of their own worst enemy. I
Yeah.
wish it would go back to like the six speeds that they used to run.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, like I really like it. You definitely can feel that like shudder in it
Mhm.
sometimes, but it's to me it's only when it's just first trying to warm up. After
Yeah.
that, it's fine.
Yeah. They're not. It all depends. It's like everything, right? It's how uber tuned in do you want to get to it? You know what I mean? Like it's, you know, I noticed a little bit difference now in the way my Jeep shifts versus when I bought it 4 years ago. Right? Am I absolutely panicking about it? No, I got the stuff to service it, right? And it's just going to be the way it is. I'm not going to I'm not going to start, oh, I better go and get that thing overhauled now, or, rip it out and get another one. I'm not of that means yet that I think it's necessarily the smartest way to spend my money. But, I do have a friend that he went through and just deleted his DOD and his Silverado. And he says, honestly, like that fixes half the shudder in his transmission
Really?
because it's not hot all the time. Yeah. He says it's not constantly going in and out of lockup when it's going from 8 down to 4 and all that jazz. So I think that, if GM did one of the two things, either, go back to a more durable transmission and kept AFM or deleted AFM, I think they would fix, a big problem with their trucks is just choosing one. But then again, everybody's crazy about fuel mileage now, right? Like it's, everybody wants these unrealistic mileage numbers out of trucks, and it's just not going to happen. Not without the sacrifice of longevity,
Yeah, and like when we were looking around looking at trucks, like we were thinking about going new, and then just the price of it being a whole different story is just outrageous. But like these
Mhm.
sales guys, they're all like, oh well, why don't you check out the 2.7 turbo? It's like, no, like I'm not buying a
Yeah.
truck for fuel mileage. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. Like, am I using my truck like as a truck? No. Like, I do a whole lot of commuting with it. Like, I
Hmm.
just personally like trucks more. I mean, when I was growing up, yeah, I grew up in the country. Like, I didn't want a car, and I did use my truck then. That's what
Yeah.
I'm more comfortable with. But I'm not I'm not buying a four-cylinder turbo, full size half-ton pickup for fuel mileage. Well, it can, oh, it tows more. It has more towing capacity than the V8s do. It's like, yeah, how long? I want to know. How long is it going to be able to
Hmm.
do that? Because if it's anything like your other four-cylinder stuff, the timing chains are going to wipe out in it at like 80, maybe even 70,000 miles, depending on who's taking care of it.
Yeah.
So,
And that's what scares me with this modern V6 stuff, or even this 4-cylinder running one turbo, two turbos, compounds. You're A turbo on a big truck is expensive enough to change, right? Like if you go and put a turbo on a Detroit or Cummins or anything like that, it's a fair chunk of change. You go and stick two in a Ford truck, where the manifolds are breaking at the same time and like all that jazz. You're into a hefty bill.
yeah,
And I still remember one of my friends at Promotive, like they were talking about how they did manifolds and turbos and then chains in their Ford truck within a 2-year span. And I'm like, yep. Like it's just like, so this whole idea for me of when my brother or anybody in the family comes and says, well, what about buying this? I'm like, stay away from anything that is gas with a turbo from the standpoint of longevity. They're great. They get good mileage, but at some point you will replace the turbo in it because it'll seize up or get loud or leak oil or something, right? It's just one of those things.
yeah,
And then do you want to be faced with that bill? No, I don't. Well, then buy the harder on fuel, more anemic version. And in 6 or 7 years, you might do a set of manifolds, but you're not buying turbos for it. And that's what I tell everybody. And they're just like, oh, that makes sense.
I'll another thing talking about like the twin turbo stuff there. Ford, before they discontinued it, they don't make them anymore. The Ford Fusions,
Mm,
they had the EcoBoost ones in it. I think the Fusion Sport, that was I think that actually had the 2.7 twin turbo V6 in it, if I'm correct. And then I know if you go down not to like a titanium or even just an SC, the EcoBoost one there. I think that was a 2 liter turboed one. Like,
yeah.
yeah, they were all great, but they were having all those same issues too. I
Oh, yeah.
had I had a 2013. That was my first car I ever actually went and bought, had a loan for and everything. That was when they just changed like the body style on them. They had that
Mhm.
like Aston Martin look to it.
Yep. Yep.
That had the 2.5 4 cylinder in it, naturally aspirated. I bought that car with like 35,000 miles on it, and I drove it for a couple years, and then a girlfriend I had at the time, I ended up giving it to her because I went and bought a truck. Then she
Mm,
drove it for another couple years, and then she traded it in on something I can't even remember. I when she traded it in, that thing had like 130,000 miles on it,
yeah.
and I did a valve cover on it. I replaced that. Other than that, it was just oil changes, tires, brakes,
Yeah.
the occasional, I think, one or
Control
two
arm.
wheel
Yeah.
bearings, just general maintenance. That thing, that I mean, and I did a lot of highway driving with that too. I was going back and forth from my hometown, Seneca Falls. That's actually where I grew up, to Buffalo and whatnot, and like it got pretty good mileage. I was almost getting 30 miles to the gallon in it, and it just ran. Never had any issues with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I wish we'd build cars, more like that instead of this, trying to, I don't want to say they're doing the horsepower race, but I mean, it's still something that they want to be able to publish. And now it's the fuel mileage race. And
Mm.
it's just like, I would trade off the power for fuel mileage if it meant that the engine would last longer. And I think most people are in the same boat. They would like gas right now. We're at over $6 a gallon here we're in Ontario, Kent. Like, so it's ridiculous, right? So now, because again, there's lots of things going on. Before before we turned it on, Christopher and I were talking about politics, and we kind of said we don't do that here. But it's the the mandates of what they're trying to do here is they're trying to get more people to buy EV and hybrid, and if the fuel prices keep going up the way they are in Canada, um, parts of Canada, it'll definitely more people will be thinking about it, and then I don't know. They're going to get a rude awakening then when they start to see the cost of fixing them. So that's as far as I want to go on that.
Yeah, I mean, with the whole like EV thing, full EV, we're not ready for. Like, they're really pushing hard on that, especially now with like school buses. There's a lot of
Yeah, I was
districts
gonna
here.
just ask you.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah,
districts here are like trying or getting them and whatnot, and it's like I do see the practical of them, but at the same time, it's not like they don't. Oh, 300, 350 miles to a charge. Like, that's not
hmm
it's not even true. It's not a true mileage. Like, as soon as you start implementing any sort of heat, AC, or
yeah,
just crappy weather conditions, like, it's gonna go down. If anything, I think we should be more looking into like just hybrid. You get the best
yeah.
of both worlds. I don't think that's tapped out yet. I think they could
Not
definitely
even
push
close.
push that a little more.
Not even close. Hybrid is so much more. I don't want to say. Well, I'll say it's more reliable in the sense that like there's a lot of Priuses still driving around,
Yeah.
right? That are not probably in hybrid mode hardly any point in their life anymore, right? There's something that's locking it out, something that's and the customer's still driving the car.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Until they're limping along until they can get another car. When you have an EV and it decides all of a sudden there's an inverter fault or whatever like that, you're done.
Yeah.
You're forced to fix the car. You don't have a second way to use that car. And that for me is just, that's not progress. That's a step backwards.
Yeah.
But you try to get people that are really into the idea, I want a Tesla or I want an EV. I think a lot of the people that want to buy an EV really want a Tesla, but they can't afford a Tesla, but they want to be cool, or they want to be accepted.
Yeah.
I'm going to the political thing again. And all of a sudden it's like, they want to be seen. And I don't think it's a plus. At the bus garage, kind of getting back to that, do you have some hybrids in your fleet?
No. So not us yet. We're for the company that I work for. We're privately owned. We bid on contracts with like all the districts like around here to pick up routes and everything like that. So all of our buses that we've got a majority of them are full size conventional buses, and all they have in them is a 6.7 Cummins. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And then
so that's like the Bluebird or the Thomases. Is that what?
Yeah.
Kind of the two. Yeah.
Yeah. Ours are, I believe they're Thomas built. They're Freightliner C2s. So actually they're not the Thomas built ones. Those are our minis. So like the short buses, like the Ford E450s or like the Chevy 4500s. Those are going to be Thomas built. But these Freightliner C2s that we got, they're Safe Right, Safe Light, something like that. That's their brand for it. But they all they have is just a 6.7 Cummins in them, and then just air brakes. I think really they're pretty similar, just to the same ones that are going into like your Ram 20 and 3500s. Besides a couple of little things there off the top of my head, I don't know.
You like working on them?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, especially with like that's majority of our fleet. It's pretty common of like what goes on with them, and honestly, they're pretty solid. It's a lot of the issues that we have is just the body side, like not even like Freightliner itself or Cummins itself. It's more of like the body side of like who makes that. We have a lot of electrical problems, or they're just even basics of like just rotting out up here, and then we just got to do some body work on them.
Yeah, because New York State, man, you guys love your salt, same as us. Like it's just crazy, eh? How long is the bus last out there?
What's that?
Like how long are you seeing some of your fleet last? How long are you seeing some of them?
So with school buses here, we can only keep them in fleet for like 10 years. And so I think like the first 5 or 6 years, like they can they're full use, full use. They can be used at any time. After that point, there comes a time like you could still keep them in your fleet, but like they're really only supposed to be like spares. Like you're not running them constantly all the time, like every day. And then they'll start phasing out once they get to that 9-10 year mark. It's something somewhere around that. And then we sell them, they go to auction or whatnot.
Yeah. Somebody buys it, makes it into a motorhome, or parks it on the back lot somewhere and lives in it.
Dude, I'll tell you what, like I've actually wanted to do that. Some with like the last school bus company I was with, we had some pretty big like mini buses that like you could do like as the people call them, they call them schoolies, and they'll convert them into like a camper or something, and it's pretty impressive what people are doing. Like they're having full blown like AC systems in there and everything with like a little mini split. It's nuts, and it's like that would be pretty cool to do actually.
I would love one, because when I retire, then I could just make like a little studio on the back, right? And I could just I keep saying I'm going to put a trailer hitch on the back, stick a bass boat in there, a little studio inside, and I'm just going to go completely take the Jaded Mechanic podcast mobile.
That
You know what I mean? And it's just,
that would be the way.
Sell the house, head to Florida. Like I was just saying yesterday, I'd head to Florida or Texas, come up here, come fall, and then work my way back up, maybe go to Alaska, like just something like that. Just get a schoolie, park in like the Walmartians there in the Walmart parking lot, and like do something like at Bucky's. I would love to see a Bucky's.
Oh my god!
Like we don't have them here yet,
we don't either. Me and my wife, we actually her family lives out in Las Vegas. Well, Las Vegas, okay. Henderson. So it's like 15 minutes out of Vegas there. We drove from Rochester to there and then back. Wow. And we only came across one Bucky's when we were coming back home through Kentucky. And it's like, yeah, no, we're stopping there. Like she was like, what is a Bucky's? I was like, it is a over glorified gas station. Like it is a Walmart in this place. And we gotta go check it out. And it was awesome. Loved it.
Yeah. Best beef jerky around, apparently they say. And it's crazy.
It is pretty good. We got some food there. We each got like a little burger or something. Oh my god, that was so good. And we bought so much crap in there. We spent like $320 in a Bucky's, but like we had all sorts of stuff, and it was like we just did this at a gas station. I was like, yeah, we did.
So what do you really love about the bus garage, other than, like you said, it's kind of like you get to know that one product really well? Like, is it the atmosphere? Is it laid back? Is it,
where I'm at now? It definitely, I'm literally just brand new there. Next week's going to be my third week there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay. So it's definitely a lot more, I feel, laid back. Compared to like a dealership life, or just even like a heavy duty fleet shop. And even and I can't even say like that's like all heavy duty fleet shops are like crazy. I've been to a few that were just as laid back, as long as you were getting your work done. Like they it didn't matter to them. But like being just with like the same product, like you're not trying to remember like all these different things with like different makes and models, and like maybe that doesn't some people are going to look at that as like, oh, that's just you're not like a full-blown mechanic. Like I've got 20 years of knowing, and I know everything. And it's like, well, not for nothing. Like you're never going to know it. I'm never going to know it. Even with I'm working with the same product, like I'm just not. Everything is constantly changing. So for me, it's just staying with that same product and just like nailing it down to this, nailing it down, knowing it, best as I can. And they're very heavy on getting you trained and certified. Like I know you've heard and talked about on before. You guys don't have ASEs up there, correct?
Well, no. There used to be, like I said, I remember the last time I saw an ASE sign in a Canadian shop was at a Canadian Tire, which is the largest, like, I don't know if it'd be like Canadian Tire would be equivalent to like Pep Boys or something like that, but it's the biggest franchise for auto repair in Canada.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen that sign inside of there in probably 10 years. Because I think it's like they just realized, Canadians don't even recognize what ASE is. And back then, if you worked there, you already had to have your trade license, your certification that we have to have in Canada.
Yep.
But then they would sign you up if you wanted to do ASEs, and you get it. And it was like, I don't think a lot of the guys bothered, because outside of that chain, that franchise, it wasn't recognized. If you'd already passed, they say up here, if you get your 310S, like I have in Ontario, you're already at whatever ASE level master. I don't know what. I think it's like anything else. I think certification is a good thing. I think that the industry probably needs more of it, from a standpoint of trying to bring in at least a basic level of competency that shows that you've had a basic level of training and understanding and exposure to the hows and whys of, how this stuff is done. I don't want to say that, like, if you don't have an ASE or you don't have a cert, you're not qualified, because I've met lots of guys that didn't have it and they could get jobs done. Now, I say they could get jobs done. They couldn't get all the jobs done.
Right.
But I would argue that I don't know of too many technicians now, with how everything's becoming so specialized, that they can anyway. Like, I've been very frank that, like, I suck at air conditioning, terrible at it. And it holds zero interest to me. And I don't care if I work on it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not something. So, like, the standpoint that I have past it as a master technician is crazy to me, because, like, can I diagnose it? Yeah, but I'm slow as hell. You know what I mean? Like, I have to go back to literally, like, the fundamentals of how does this work again, right? Like pressure and temperature and all that jazz. So have I been recerted since I took my trade exam 20 years ago? Nope. That's the other thing I think that's got to change, is I think, like, people rip on ASE all the time, and ASE. And I think that recert is an important thing to do. I think that, like, and not just in the sense that you take the test again, but I believe that, like, should be more training that goes into before you can even take the test. What about you? Like, is there anything where you're offered for work, like, that you have to do or mandatory?
So like ASC wise, going there, they mandatory that you have your heavy duty air brake ASC. I believe that's what it's called. And it's just because, like, the company's very big on safety, like, and they just
Yeah.
want they just want to make sure, like, you know what you're working on. I mean, I've never gotten any of my ASCs. I think maybe at one point I had an AC one at one place, but, like, for me that was an easy one. And
Yeah.
but, like, after that, like, a lot of places have, like, told me, like, oh yeah, you can go do it, we'll offer it, blah blah blah, but they just don't promote it. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, well, what kind of incentive do I got? You get some. We'll talk about that. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, but here, like, they actually want you to get it. Even with it being, like, a mandatory thing, getting to have it, they're automatically going to give you a 25 cents bump. And then there's 7 other ones that you can get. You don't have to, but if you want to, you're more than willing to go and get them. They will pay for all your testing, and each one that you get is another 25 cents. So
Mm-hmm.
overall, it'll be another, like, two something dollars an hour raise for you, and then you gotta redo it every year. They'll pay for you to redo it.
Yeah.
They want you, they they definitely promote us to, like, go and do all that, and then along with, like, just all sorts of other training with, like, Cummins, and then, like you were saying, like Thomas Belt Bus or anything like that, just so we've got better general knowledge of what's going on out there.
Mm-hmm. I think that's got to be adopted across the industry if we really want to see ASE come back, for where it becomes, kind of a part of the regular conversation. You're going to have to give them a bump for everyone I think they have. If you really want to incentivize them to have them, you're going to have to just pay them more. Because, like, for me, it's a simple, wait a minute. So for everyone I get a 25 cents, 50 cents, a dollar, doesn't matter, every hour. Like, that just seems so simple a decision to me. Yeah, let's knock that out in a couple weekends, and how else are you going to get a $5 or $6 an hour raise?
But
Not,
you're
right?
not. Yeah.
So let's do it. But it's these. I don't know. How do I say that? Brian, my good brother Brian Pollock always talks about, it's that second 40 hours a week that you put in, right? That really determines your trajectory in this industry. And I've kind of had a change of heart in the last little while, because early on I was such a standout that it's like, if you want to do that, that's fine. But I was never faulting people that didn't want to do it, because maybe you just want to come home and completely unplug, not think about it, do whatever it is you had to do family wise, hobby wise, and I didn't judge. Now I realize that, like, if you want to get top pay, you have to have some kind of routine, just like going to the gym,
Mm-hmm.
that you're learning all the time. Because I know, like, I can't keep up with Brian, what Brian already knows and what Brian is still learning every week, because the guy never turns it off. It is always, there's always something educational in Brian's reading list that has to do with becoming a better technician. And I think it's like his success is a testament to that, right? That method. And I think that, like, I want technicians to make really good money and I want them to be really well paid. That's what I'm here for.
Right.
But man, there's a lot of us that are skating by now. And it's becoming more obvious every week sometimes, at least with every month, with what you see some of them not fixing or not being able to fix, that you realize a lot have skated through.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that might be is why I'm starting to dial back my opinion on it and maybe reopen the conversation that mandatory training should be mandatory.
No, for sure. And like another thing, like with the company I'm at now, they actually do that for us. There's
Mhm.
it's they guarantee. I mean, this is something that me and my manager talked about. Like they want us to do some sort of training, at least like 20 hours of training or something like that in a year. Like, is that a lot? No, but I'll tell you what, that's probably like the first place that has said anything like that, and you're actually doing it on the job. You're not doing it when you're home. You can,
Yeah.
if you really want to, but they do try to cut out a couple hours a week for whoever. What we try to divvy it up between, because I think there's 7 of us in my shop,
Okay.
and to get some sort of training in. And then if you're really into something right now and like you didn't want to stop, like he will let you just go and keep doing it for like couple another hour or whatever like training course that you're on. And I
Mhm.
think that's where, like, shops or dealerships, like, you need to cut out that time for your techs if you do want to make it seem more like an incentive for them to go and do it. Like, you don't just have to do it at home. Like, you should be trying
Yeah.
to offer that time. I know it's not always practical or possible, but you should at least try. I've never heard anybody else do that besides you're just doing it on your own time.
Yeah. And I love the idea that some shops are like, okay, so and I've heard them say, some shops is like, well, every Friday, we shut down at noon
Yep.
and we train if we're open on Fridays. That's the other thing, right? You could go that argument. And it's like, what I would love to see is not necessarily like the 4-day work week, but I'd like to see the 4.5 day, where it's like Friday at lunch, you pull the pin, just like the body shops used to be 20 years ago. And you pull the pin and you say, that's it. Everything that can roll out for the week is rolled out. The table, the paperwork, the whole thing, collect your bills. And then that afternoon you spend training.
Mhm.
Go over maybe the cars that like kick somebody's butt that week, or the bus that kicks somebody's tail, this case study that you built, or this thing that, hey, look at this, I found this spot in this harness on this bus. We're going to see this again. If we just shared that every week, bought pizza and sat down and did it for a weekend right before Friday. Now I understand it's hard sometimes to focus on Friday afternoon when you're just thinking about the weekend, like all the work's done and, but make it like a few hours. Everybody turns their phone off, you sit there and you could do it where a different tech tables it every week and shows something, or I don't care what it is, if it's watching Scanner Dan or if it's watching, Moto Age TST does their lunch and learns, right? If you take all those videos, they're all over YouTube, and you say, okay, this week we're watching this one and this one and this one, and then pause the damn thing and ask, anybody got questions on that? Like, Brian's one of the best at that. If you ever get a chance to sit in one of Brian's class, because Brian's one of the best instructors I've seen, and he's like, okay, so before we go to the next slide, do you understand that? Do you have any questions? And that's so powerful, because everybody then feels like, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna put my hand up. Can you cover this again? And he will. Like, that's where a lot of this stuff, if we're not under the hood touching it, that's a whole other thing, right? Do you want to bring a car in when you do these training event, these luncheon labs or whatever you want to call them? Or do you want to just have a slide? If you're just doing slides or a video monitor, you have to stop and say, okay, do you get it? Before you go on to the next thing. And it shouldn't be a race, and it shouldn't be like we have to get through this. It can be okay, like you can start to see the people's attentions wean off. Okay, good. That's where we stop for the week. Thanks for coming out. Great week, everybody. That kind of thing. I would love to see that become the culture that's in shops, because I think it would fix so many of the issues that we're having.
I totally agree. I
Rant
think
there.
what's that?
Sorry, I got on a rant there.
No, you're good. I totally agree with it. Like, just make it something for like the guys to just enjoy. Like, yeah, like you were saying, Friday afternoon. Yeah, a lot of guys are thinking about the weekend. Like, yeah, I just want to 5 o'clock to hit and punch out, and go home, and go out in the town with the boys or whatever have you be. But taking half a day to do that and go over something, I think would be really beneficial, especially for like the new guys that are coming in. Maybe that's where, like, they can get more of their feet wet with it, besides just being out in the shop and having that
Yeah.
real world experience. And don't get me wrong, that's all that I've ever done is real world
Yeah.
experience. I didn't go to college, and like I've worked with guys that went to trade schools and whatnot. And let me tell you, a lot of them, yeah, they are really smart. They get the engine diag side of things, they can kill it. But for me, I don't think they do a lot of, like, of the basics. Like,
Yeah.
they come from these schools like, oh, I can rebuild engines and everything. It's like, yeah, I rebuilt 2 engines when I was in BOCES too. So yeah, I have the capabilities of doing that. Have I done it since? No, haven't done it at all.
And
And
here's the other thing that, like, I see other things and they talk about it all the time, not to cut you off, is like, it's one thing to have the technical and the guy says, I can rebuild an engine. Well, what about if you got a broken bolt? Like, we could do an afternoon where it's like, okay, everybody, here's a MIG welder.
yep,
Right now, we're going to learn how to at least get this broken stud out of this cylinder head.
yeah,
Right? Because, and I was one of those where it was like, I don't need to learn how to weld. My dad was a body guy, so I'd grown up welding and watching and all that kind of stuff. But there was like a 10-year span there when I worked at the dealer where we didn't have a welder in the dealership. We didn't use it. Now, when they're going through the trade school up here, they're pretty much taking welding out. Where when I went through, it was a class you took every week, so many hours. Now I think they show them a video, and maybe they go into a lab one day and they learn how to MIG, and that's it.
yes,
If you don't want to teach your guys in the shop, fuel trims and oxygen sensor versus wideband and so on and so forth, hell, man, teach them how to weld 2 pieces of pipe together. There's so much we can still be teaching our young people how to do that the education system's not. That we all in this industry complain about it, but so many of us need to step up and actually say, okay, my guys are weak at this, I'm going to teach them how to do it. That's Brian shared with me that it's like, going forward, he probably won't send as many of his guys to the Napa courses and the World Pack and all this. There's nothing wrong with them, but he's like, we're having so much more effective learning when it's done by me in the shop. You know what I mean? That it's easier to do it that way. Now, again, as we all know, sometimes it's like, this car didn't get done, so we have to get it done. But I think at some point, if we're going to seriously take this industry to the next place, we have to just go, you know what? It doesn't matter that it was supposed to get done yesterday at 5 and it's now Friday morning. And, it's 1 o'clock. It doesn't matter. Call the customer, tell them it's not going to be done this week. We still have to train. And I think that it's just like anything else. Once we start putting the reps in on it, we're going to get a whole lot better. What's some of the tough lessons you had to learn? Like you said, in the shop by yourself, what's some of the tough ones that you had to learn?
Oh man, um, where where do I even begin? I mean honestly, a very I'm not a heavy diet guy. Like I
Mhm.
that's probably one of my weakest thing, and that's not because
Right.
I don't have the will or the want to learn that. A lot of shops that I've been at, they have their diet guy, and that's it. So
Yeah.
when you do throw me a problem, and yeah, I can fumble my way through it, but it's definitely like it's not. I can't guarantee it is going to fix it because I'm not sure. I
Mhm.
just don't have the
Yeah.
knowledge of it and like how a lot of that stuff works. So I mean, I can't even honestly. I don't even feel like I can really like answer that. Besides, probably one time like doing a set of camel pack springs on a straight job. That
Okay.
I went into that. I was like, oh, I can do that. Let's just take the two U bolts off and drag it out, put the new one on. And then no, you gotta get a cherry picker in there to pick those things up. That's a ten pack camel pack, and
Yeah.
that's a lot of weight there. And just
Yeah.
to go into doing that, going in and doing that, like I thought I was like, oh yeah, I'll get it done in 2 hours or something. Nope, that thing kicked my ass all day long for
Mhm.
whatever reason. I can't even remember. I was still just so fresh into this, and somehow, some way, I think I actually, because with torquing those down, you actually got to use a torque multiplier
Yeah.
because yeah, it's some sort of absurd amount. Like I can't even remember. I think I actually ended up. I don't know if it was truly my fault, but I actually did end up breaking one of those U bolts over torquing it
Mm.
somehow, some way. That it was either I broke it or took the threads right off it
Yeah.
somehow,
Yeah.
some way. And like, why? How did it happen? No idea. But I mean, a lot of things that I've done, just even basic wire, like 12-volt lighting, just doing
Yeah.
taillights and stuff. A lot of a lovely design that Mac trucks does with their taillights on the back of their trucks. All they have to cover the actual the taillights, the backs of them where your plugs go in, is just these little flimsy rubber plastic cover like things, and the wiring, your wire harness goes in there, and when somebody goes in there before you, oh, screw the loom, it doesn't need that, and it starts eating everything up. I didn't know the
Yeah.
basics of actually like the color coded wires, like the green, green
Yeah.
is left turn, yellow is right turn, I believe. I might have it screwed up,
Yeah.
but like
Yellow is left because I have to remember that. Yellow's left because it's got an L in the word,
yes,
right?
yeah,
Green
there
is
you go.
right because it's an
Yes.
R. Like, yeah, it didn't make sense to me until I had to like pound that crap into my head.
Hmm.
And lighting, everybody thinks lighting's real simple. And then you go back to some of this stuff and it's like, well, where exactly is it ground? Well, the whole damn thing's supposed to be grounded. But now you got pins that are worn out in the bushings and all of a sudden, and it's like just depending on the bump that the truck hits
Yeah.
or the bot, all of a sudden the lights are flickering. And lights flickering, you're grabbing harnesses and tearing it open looking for, green. It's not that.
Yeah.
It's a worn fifth wheel plate or, like it's crazy wonky shit like that. And it was just, thank God somebody taught me way back when to like always back up and slow down and think about like if I jam a booster cable from the frame up to the fifth wheel
Hmm.
and everything works right, what am I looking at? Well, I'm looking at a ground problem.
Hmm.
And it was just like, and if I did that and it didn't fix it, what am I then? Well, then I'm going somewhere else. It was just little things like that somebody taught me. That if nobody had taught it to me, I wouldn't be where I was. Now, were they necessarily real gentle with me when they taught it? No, because it was just implied that I should have learned that in school.
Yeah.
But you know how it is in school. Like you sit there, you stare at Ohm's law, and you would stare at what we used to call a breadboard,
Mm-hmm.
all this little circuit board with a bunch of resistors on it. I was terrible at it. I hated it. It was all math to me. It just sucked.
Mm-hmm.
But then somebody came along and showed me how to like make a circuit work. And all of a sudden I was off and running. You kind of mentioned something, how you talked about you're not really good at it. But what I see myself now running into is more and more is people can get through diags, but they're following the flow chart, right? And there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other people, when you get a certain level, it's like Scanner Danner tells all the time, you don't need the flow chart anymore if you have the understanding of how the circuit would work.
Right.
I need to reiterate that if you follow the flow chart, I don't have hate on you for that, right? I think that some of us need to go back a little bit more and look at the flow chart, because we make assumptions and we miss the little things, like Brian says, read RTFM, read the flipping manual.
Right.
That's sometimes the notes in the manual are right in the damn flow chart.
Right.
So
no, I totally agree. Like, for me, yeah, it's not even so much that like I can't do it, or like where I really struggle with it is just the wording and how it works, and trying to understand that. Like the can system, high and low speed, 5 volt reference. I know a little bit about it. I all I know for sure, it's all tied in with so much crap, and you don't know where to start with a lot of it.
yeah.
And like I had something. I believe it was like a fuel pump module on one of our buses. Actually, ended up going out. Chevy 3500 with a 6 liter in it, and yeah, like that. Like it would crank, just no start. It was complaining about the five volt reference on circuit 3.
Yeah.
And just going through and just chasing where it's going, what connects to what, and that's for me. That's just where I struggle with it, because I don't have that experience. Or you had brought up earlier when we were talking about like what I was doing, like the fairings coming off, and you brought up like the whole lighting. Oh, there's no lights on this fairing, and then you brought up it's similar to like, oh, this whole like odd bank on whatever it's not firing at all. I actually had that exact problem on one of our buses, and following the flow chart, going through. Okay, well, do you have good plugs? Yeah, I know I got good plugs, because I've already put a set in it. That was the first thing my manager told me to do. Throw a set of plugs in. It's misfiring or whatever. And that was, he said he had read the codes, and I guess that was my first mistake. I didn't even plug in and read it, see what was going on, and come to find out, it's a whole odd bank down. It's like, plugs ain't gonna do that.
That's right.
So going through, testing coil packs, testing the injectors, and just I was like, okay, well, where's this going to go from here? Oh, it's going up to your fuse block there, and it's like, let me go do some research on the internet. What have people found? See if I could try and find something common. Come to find out, where can't remember what harness that actually goes into the bottom of that fuse block. There's two pins there. You take that fuse block out, and you're going to test resistance on both sides of that. And if you're getting a lot of wonky readings, you actually need a fuse block for that.
Yeah.
And so that was,
well, somebody it just popped up yesterday. Somebody was talking about they had a truck that's misfiring, Chevy Silverado. And somebody said, yeah, you're gonna have a fuse block problem there. And it's the same thing. They're saying, well, when I unplug it and it's loaded, it's all good. Sure it is, yeah. But it's one of those where it's a weird thing. Brian Pollock, I still remember, he told me, he's had a bunch of those trucks come in now, and they're running, one bank ain't firing. And he's like, it's so simple when you think about it. His method, this is why he's a genius. He's like, I just take it and I put a wire to ground on the battery. And then I take a back probe and I stick it in any other coil. It doesn't matter which coil. I stick it into that ground wire. And he says the engine starts immediately firing those 4 cylinders again. He's like, my diag's done. He's like, it's done. It's a ground.
Right.
Now, which ground is it? But the rest of us, we would make that so complicated, and we'd be like unplugging and light bulb and all that kind of stuff. It's all a good way to do it, but his level is like his understanding of how to make it work is the next level up. Like I've never seen anybody in all the people I've run into. Like a lot of people can teach it, but Brian just he just has this way of knowing how to make it work. I've never seen anybody with it since ever. It's incredible. Like, and because they don't teach you that at school.
No,
they're so scared that when they're teaching you electrical that you might pin the wrong wire. And I get it, but it's like, you could even say the power probe, just back probe, but power probe's got such a negative connotation because you can do the wrong thing, but if you 100% know that this is the ground pin and I have a ground wire here from the battery and I plug that in and I'm done. That's such a eureka moment for me, that point on the diag where I now know what I need to do to restore this to make it work. Have I found the break in the harness? No, not yet.
No.
But it's the same as, and this is how we get to that next level of where we don't need the flow chart. We just need the understanding. But I don't hate on the guys that use a flow chart, man. I don't hate on it. It's just, we can always rewrite them a little bit better, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
No, for sure. And just have it try to figure out better understanding or better wording for some people. That's just a struggle for me. There's technical terms that are coming out of the book, and then there's shop terms, and I feel for me, trying to mesh both of those together, I can struggle with it. And, maybe that's where I just need to get a little bit more experience with electrical work, or doing some more diag work, and just getting to understand the fundamentals of what this is doing or how that works. Then, I'm sure I could be a whole lot better at it. But it's everybody learns so differently. Like you can it. I had a kid, working with me. He was green as could be coming into this, and just didn't have basic knowledge of how air brakes work. Air brakes are pretty simple. I mean, you got your main valve, and then you got some relay valves. That's it's not a whole lot to it, especially on a trailer. Not even on a tractor side, where you got protection valves and one-way check valves and stuff like that, because you got to worry about backfeeding and losing all pressure. But just my supervisor ended up having me actually work with him after he had been with a couple of the other guys in the shop, and he just wasn't getting it. And it's the shop that I was at. It was a little rough. I will say I was definitely probably one of the more just chilled, relaxed ones. You can just come talk to me. Definitely, if you ask me a stupid I don't say this stupid question, because there is no stupid questions in my mind. The one that's not asked is the dumb one. I might make you work for it and think about it a little bit, or eventually I'm going to point it out to you, but I try to make that into some sort of a learning moment that it just clicks. And working with this kid for a couple weeks, then he finally just got it. He understood why why is this valve, or what's freezing up in here, that now I'm only getting one side chambers working, this one's not, they're doing absolutely nothing, or why are the airbags not dumping when the trailer brake's getting set. Whatever I had to do just to talk to him about that just clicked with him.
I sucked at air systems on trailers and trucks when I was going back and forth between automotive and heavy truck, because nobody ever taught it to me. You know what I mean? So it was could I go out and do a brake chamber? Yep.
Yeah,
for sure. All kinds of them. Could I find the air leak? Yeah, of course. But if it was I remember they sent me at one time, I got hell for this. They sent me at one time to look at a truck that the lift axle wouldn't come up on. And the guy at the parts counter sends me out he says, it's going to be this valve. And he sends me out with the valve on the road on the service call. And I go screw the valve in. Truck's doing exactly the same thing. Right. And I'm flipping mad now because it's been like it's an hour. It's not snowing, but it's not warm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've been out there. I'm underneath this stinky truck. It's at a propane filling place, and I change this valve out and it doesn't fix it. And I so he's watching me put my tools away, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm going back to the shop." He's like, "What do you mean you're going back to the shop?" I'm like, "I'm going back to the shop." Well, what about my truck? I said, "I don't know. Call the number." I said, "Like I don't know what to do after this point." I said, "Like I'm an automotive guy, and you got me out here like putting a QR valve in for this that didn't work."
Yep.
Well, don't you know what to do? I'm like, "No, I don't have a clue, man." And he kind of looked at me, and he just started laughing. And the next day, my boss was like, "You can't tell him that." And I'm like, "I've been telling you guys for 6 months that I need training on air systems, and you keep saying you're going to do it and you're going to do it and you never do it." I said, "This is what happened." I said, like, I took the valve that was supposed to be put in, and it ended up coming to the shop the next day, and then they had their guy, and it was like a really weird valve that like shouldn't have been able to do what it was causing the symptom that it was.
Yeah.
But it did. Because again, it was a trailer, it was modified, right? And everybody was just shaking their head, but I caught hell for that. And I remember the driver going, "What do I do now?" I'm like, "Call, we'll either tow you off of here or bring it there." Like so much of it at the end of it was so stupid because like, was the truck unable to roll? No, it wasn't.
No.
But it's like, he couldn't get it. So how did you get the lift axle up, Jeff? Well, I mean, we put a jack underneath it. We jacked it up and we chained it. Well, I can't. I'm supposed to be carrying. I understand. I get it. I understand. But like, I can't fix it here. It's just a situation. It could have been a bad valve. It wasn't, but it could have been. What would I have done then?
Yeah.
It's difference of understanding the fundamentals and going, okay, versus I didn't know the fundamentals.
Right.
And, you can say all you want. The comments are going to blow up with, "You should have done this and you should have known that." Listen, dude, I was a automotive tech dispatched for an air problem on a trailer. Like that was the reality of it.
Yeah,
Because
the air problem that is like, oh, air, you mean AC? No, no, not that. No. You don't have the clue.
Yeah, because where was their tractor trailer technician? Well, he was working on a light duty ambulance that I should have been working on. That was the reality of what it was, right? Like they were, because again, they were playing games with the dispatch in the shop, and that shit happens, I like the idea what you did for that young man that you worked with, because I think that's. You've heard it probably, Christopher. You talk about like in this industry, sometimes we eat our own, and we eat our young, and there's gatekeeping and all that kind of stuff. And to compare it to the dealership, like there was a lot of gatekeeping going on, and there was a lot of like, guys that wouldn't help each other. And I always had a problem with that. I understood why it happened, but I had a problem with it. And you talk about how there's no stupid question. There isn't. The only stupid question, or the one that frustrated me, was like when they had to ask it several times.
Yeah.
That frustrated me, because then I'm like, okay, is it how I'm delivering you the answer that you're not getting, or are you just not paying attention? And a lot of it is just not paying attention, right? Yeah. Sometimes it's the delivery, but a lot of the time they just weren't paying attention.
Right.
So, did you run into that like in the truck shop? You said it was a little. Were they that way with you? That they didn't want to teach you stuff?
They were. Some guys were. I feel like I experienced more of that actually, like the last shop that I was at. I mean, I did get to do quite a bit there. I feel that definitely opened up a lot of opportunities for me to like try and like figure things out. Like, I did a couple of transmissions there, just simple, like, just pulling one out, putting a new one in, going through and doing the programming for it, and then, taking it for road test, making sure she's shifting right, or doing a set of cams on a good old 3.6 Pentastar engine and a Grand Caravan because the lifters are trash and, it sounds like a bomb going off in there. freaking,
Yeah.
getting to do that and just some more extensive jobs, doing some steering racks, and so on and so forth like that. But like
Yeah. So you got some light duty experience too when you were there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Being there, we at that, but at that bus garage, we had a lot more light duty stuff there. So we only had 5 or 6 like full size buses, and we'd even run them. That they were mostly just used for training, and
Yeah.
in that shop we had like 6 bays and two and they were all drive on lifts. Two of those lifts could actually pull a full size bus on and go up in the air with it. I was
Hmm.
on the other side of the shop. My lift could only pick up like single wheel mini
Yeah.
buses, and then the caravans. So that's
Yeah.
pretty much what I got more well acclimated there with. And I had a coworker there. Like, yeah, he would teach me stuff. He would sit there and like say like, oh, I'm not like a good teacher. Like, I don't want to be a teacher. And like he would. It just kind of depended on like the day, where
Hmm.
if he's gonna like be willing to work with me and like show me the ropes, or like just kind of guide me through like what I'm doing here, or it'd be like, nah, just like go figure it out, and like you know
Yeah.
like, nah, like I'm not like holding your hand. It's like, I'm not even asking you to hold my hand here. I'm just asking some general questions like, am I going about this right? Like, hey, like I got check engine light on this thing, you know, and it keeps coming back for it. Like, look up in the history. This bus has been up here like 3 times now for uh, thermostat rationality codes, and
Yeah.
it's like, okay, yeah, first time, check the coolant level and it's a little low, top it off, let it burp off, whatever. Second time it's coming back, all right, yeah, I'm gonna throw a thermostat in it, and it's like, see what happens from there. Comes back and again, it's still got that code. It's like, where else can I go with this? What have you noticed? You've been here for 11 years now, so like,
Hmm.
you you know what's going on. Like, just give me a bone.
Yeah.
Point me towards it. And like I said, some days, like, yeah, like he'd be for it, and then other days it's just like, not even the same situation, something totally different. It's like, nah, just figure it out. And it's like, okay. So yeah, I would spend my time trying to do some research online, like, looking up
Hmm.
videos on, or just like
Check
whatever.
engine shock.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that, or how to like to go about, like, I did a water pump on one of those. I think I did like one or two, and I didn't know. So yeah,
Mhm.
I looked up a video, watched I don't know his name, the guy from TRQ. I love watching his stuff.
Oh, they're great. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, he
Ask.
very thorough, and like, like, I don't know, like, to me it just makes sense. And I ended up watching him on how he went about doing it, and yeah, it took me a little longer, but got it done. And it's just coming back with like the snide comments. Oh, look at that! You can figure stuff out, and it's like, it's not that I can't, or like I don't want to, but it's like, you know something that keeps coming back, and like, I've done this and this, just because, some basic knowledge, like, oh, all right, yeah, thermostat, stick it a little bit, it's got an air bubble in it or something, whatever. And this is not figuring it out. It's like, yeah, so I'm gonna go ask my, senior tax or whatever, what have you
Hmm.
done, is there something I'm not doing right, and you're just kind of telling me to go pound salt. It's like, why? Why do you want to keep that?
We go. Yeah, and what you're touching on there is something that I'm seeing more and more week by week, which is you didn't do anything wrong in the sense that probably like the engine too cold too long, P0128, right?
Yeah.
Pentastar problem, Dodge problem, really, period. But 3.6 really bad. You didn't do anything wrong in the diagonal. A lot of that, it's the part that you put in. because you call up the parts store and they go, give me a thermostat housing for this. And one guy, I was just watching his video and he's like, this morning, Ben from 3Ts, he was talking about he's been putting in Dorman and having great luck. Well, yet other people, if you talk on the internet, they're like, oh, don't ever put a Dorman thermostat in, it won't fix it. And then everybody says a Motorrad. I'll tell you right now, I put a Motorrad in my Jeep for the P0128 and it's fixed it. But then other people were like, oh, you can only put the dealer one in. Here's what I know. There's more of us now getting tripped up on our diag by the quality of part than we are on necessarily our diag being wrong. And that's the biggest problem we're facing right now in this industry. Second to probably the fact that we're not doing enough training is that there's nothing worse than feeling like you diagnosed it 110% and your execution fails because of the part you put in. You know, I keep telling everybody, don't immediately jump to the conclusion anymore that you were wrong, because a lot of us, I think, are genuinely really smart. It's go have that conversation with who picked the part out. You know, your guy that didn't want to help you. The way to help somebody with that is to take the theory in operation and put it in front of you and go, this is the threshold that says, you know, it has to warm up to this temperature in this amount of time. And, you know, a lot of that stuff still is really hard to find in the surface information. Like what Brian, his ears are going to be burning by the time this is done. What Brian is so good at is he's so good at finding that information. And why is he so good at it? Because he spends so much time looking for it. He has unlocked the riddle in a lot of these early stuff on where you actually find that information. And, you know, again, what's it mean? It means a lot of us have got to slow down now and spend more time actually RTFM and before we're going to get to the solution in this, because it's not going to get any easier. And you know, Christopher, your guy that didn't want to help you that day, what was that about? Because like I understand it why from a flat rate standpoint, why they don't, but you guys weren't flat rate. Why wouldn't he just help you?
Without getting like super deep with it, like it just yeah,
he's just a jaded old fuck.
Not even that. Like he only has like 10 years on me. Just very it just one day it could be good, one day it could be bad. Like and sometimes it could be weeks. Like and I'm not sitting here just trying to like bash him either, but it could be just become like really frustrating to like work with. And you know, within that shop, it was only 4 of us, and you know the other 2 guys, they were more at the heavier side of things. They didn't really work on a lot of like the caravans and whatnot that we had. And you know, just even my service manager, prior to him being that, he was a technician on the floor until the other one retired, and then unfortunately had passed away, and he ended up taking on his role. So I still like I don't even understand it. I don't know if it was like he just wants to like keep that information to like himself, that like he's just unique. I don't like an ego thing. I have no idea. For me, it's like I want everybody to do well. Like I don't want to see, you know, one guy struggle on this and like just not be able to get past that. Like if, you know, like with the one kid that I worked with, it took a couple other guys till he got to me, and then eventually he figured out how air brake systems work, and just like that and the air suspension. Like what did I do differently? Worded it, showed it, a little more patient with them. I don't know.
And it might have just been a time thing. Might not have they were doing anything wrong. You know, it just takes time sometimes. Like, you know, I talk about fuel trims all the time. Like I worked on cars for 30 years. And, you know, it wasn't like I understood it at the level that I did right from jump. You know, It was little things. And then all of a sudden it was like, is there a light bulb moment? No, there wasn't. But there was a couple times where, and I'd watched videos and people had talked to me and showed me But there was just at some point, at one point, it just seemed like all of a sudden I just knew it. I understood what was really going on. And then you know, and then the beauty of that is it's when we truly understand something, you can reduce it to a very simple thing. And then all of a sudden it becomes very easy to teach it to other people. Going back to the air system, I find the biggest thing in the shop is that when you're in class, it's set up on a bench and there's gauges and there's fittings and people are showing you on the gauge. See, there's nothing there. When you go out in the shop, how many times do people actually have different fittings and the gauges and all the adapters set up? You can't. So they're like, oh, that valve doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Well, it's dumping too much pressure. Well, how do you know that? Most of the time they know it because it just sounds different or feels different, the amount of air that's coming out of it. But the reality is we're taught in this classroom to look at a gauge, and yet we don't. So that's why when I'm trying to teach people now, I'm grabbing a scan tool and I'm putting the data right in front of them. That's the only way for me, because that's what my brain is keyed in to look for. That's, again, don't trust the data that they'll say, but like if you can't trust it or you don't look for it, you have nothing else except a hard-earned lesson that gave you some experience. And, you know, I want the young people to learn it without having to make some of the mistakes that I had to make, or the misdiags, if you want to call them that. Like, that's what we're all trying to avoid here. And, you know, people that are listening and talking about their technicians, oh, they misdiagnosed this and they misdiagnosed that. Okay, and that sucks. But was there a lesson taught after they misdiagnosed it? Yeah. Well, then shit. Let's look at the positive side, you know?
Yeah, I wouldn't take that as a loss. I would take that as a win. Whether, you know, like, yeah, you might have misdiagnosed something and it could have been this instead of that. And it's like, okay, you know, now you know that for the future. Like, yeah, may have figured it out the hard way, or like now it's a comeback, customer's back again, you know, a week later, and, you know, you got your boss harping on you or whatever about it. And, you know, ybbe just that week, like, it just makes sense. And then you figured it out and boom, like, yeah, it still came back. Like, yeah, you're not happy about it. All of us want to fix it, do it once and be done.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's not how it happens. And like you said, with like the quality of parts, like, I'll tell you this, with over there, the last bus garage I was at, these this simplest thing, brake calipers. We were getting rebuilt ones. You know, pull it in, do a PM on it, you're looking it over, and you know, you look up, you know, caliper seal's blown out, it's pissing brake fluid everywhere. So it's like, okay, you know, and for us, we're going to go through, we're going to change them in pairs. That's just something that we did. You know, pull it off, put the new one on, bleed the brakes, you know, check your level, make sure it's all good. You got pedal. Now go do a road test real quick, come back. And for me, I always like to verify my work and just like go back underneath and look at it. I can't tell you how many times I would pick it back up and go look at it, blown out seal again.
Yeah.
And it's fresh right out of the box. It's like, what's going on?
Are we talking about a caravan again?
What's that?
Are we talking about a caravan again, Christopher?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Caravans, the Chevy buses that we got. Like, I've seen it on a couple different things, and it's like, you know, and like you're saying, it's not all of it just misdiagnosis on our part or anything, but the quality of parts today, it's just gone downhill. And I feel like that's a lot of things, unfortunately, since like COVID. A lot of things have just gone downhill since then.
Yeah. Well, if you watch, and Sherwood from Royalties is had a couple, you know, good videos where he's talked about this, and it's going to get worse, unfortunately, because the genie's out of the bottle. They don't have to go back now and bring their standards up, you know, and everybody says, well, they need to go back to what it was before. What was that really? You know what I mean? Like, and will they ever go back to what it was before? Probably not. You know, I found that like that same thing with calipers, we had to stop using, you know, a certain parts store because we couldn't buy calipers from them. It didn't matter. That product line And they would say, "Oh yeah, the caravan ones we're pulling them all back. Like we're gonna have to use something else." It wasn't just the caravan ones; it was the express vans on the back end, the Ford trucks on the back end. Like, because let's be real, it's not a brand thing. That's a Continental caliper, right? Or it's an
Right.
Akimoto. It's whoever is rebuilding them and putting them in the box is getting the machining wrong or the polymer wrong or something's wrong. And it's
Yeah.
just a situation of like you can go buy it from three different suppliers. If they're all putting the same part in different boxes, you're gonna have the same damn problem.
Yeah.
Uh, and the thermostat thing was like I can't explain why the motor rad that I put in my you know Pentastar fixed it when everybody online says that it shouldn't fix it, but it did. The light didn't come back on. It doesn't run hot. It doesn't. So I don't know. I think there's we have to hold them a lot more accountable when they know there's a run. They need to be pulling all of them back, not just like certain suppliers. They need to pull them all. And then what does that do for the cost, right, Christopher? Like all of a sudden, then we're paying $300 for a thermostat because it's gone through a level of quality control that maybe we're not used to paying for. You
Right.
know? And then you get everybody where it's already a hard enough conversation to say, I'm not paying $300 for a thermostat because I can buy it on Rock Auto for $80.
Yeah, you can go for it.
I just had that conversation with somebody in a TikTok thread right before we got on here, where it's like, you know, um, people selling the same damn part, and that's why you want profit. That's why you don't want customer supplied parts. Yeah, of course we want profit. Like there's no other flipping reason to do this than for profit. I ain't doing this for fun. I'm not doing it for practice. I'm not doing it because of the challenge. I'm not doing it because I like the physical exertion. Where I'm doing it to get paid, and there should
Yeah.
be profit. But I'm not allowing you to bring in a part that I know nothing about and putting it on the car and then watching you destroy my reputation when the part fails and you assume that it must have been the way I put it on. Oh, you guys were so mad because you didn't get the markup. You just slapped it on there. It's a brake
There-
caliper. Putting it on the same way.
exactly. Like
Or I
this
got
is
it on, yeah. Or I got it on the bay and I tear it apart and the wrong brakes. You know, the last.
I had a customer come in. This is where was I? I was working part time at I don't know if you have a Monroe muffler up there.
It used to be around, yeah.
So, oh, I had a customer come in one time, and she was saying uh, she could rock her car like back and forth, like go from drive to like reverse,
Mm.
and she would hear this like clunking noise, and it's like, okay, well, and she's telling the service writer or whoever that was there, um, like what kind of work's been done on it. She's like, oh well, my boyfriend, he just did front and rear brakes on it, he put calipers on it and all that, and but like ever since then, now I keep hearing this clunking noise, and it's like, okay, so yeah, I mean, I first thing I rolled it in the shop, I heard the noise, was like, okay, so I put it up in the air, I'm looking around, like I'm shaking, like grabbing the calipers, seeing if like one of the brackets is loose or something. I don't see
Yeah.
anything. It's like, I mean, the pistons are coming out. She's stopping. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on? So we messed around with this thing for an hour. We're out in the parking lot, just going back and forth, back and forth. Have a guy sitting there watching it. He's like, "You're not going to believe this." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Pull it back in." And go pull it back, put it back in, throw it up in the air. He didn't put the shims
Yeah.
in the hanger. So I took it apart and I'm like, well, yeah, no wonder. And like, so we go and tell the customers, like, okay, well, like, we're gonna have to get you like new pads
Yeah.
because the shims or shims are not there. Like they looks like they were never even put on. And she's like, what, like, she got like, oh, are you saying my boyfriend doesn't know what he's doing, or
Yes, we're
like
saying that.
yeah, like, and then he came in, it was a whole thing, and it's like, dude, just like, this is what it came in here for. Why
Yeah.
didn't you put it in? Well, they didn't fit. It's like, well, then take that back to the parts store. And of course, it was some like Duralast, the cheapest like Duralast brake pads you can get at AutoZone.
Of course
And
it
it's
was.
like, I, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like, maybe they put the wrong stuff in the box, or like, don't
Hmm.
go with the cheapest stuff. Like, that
Hmm.
does happen. But
Yeah.
oh no, no, I'm scamming them. I took them out of there and all this stuff. It was it was insane.
I I don't get much. Well, it's not that I don't get much enjoyment, but there's few things I enjoy more than telling the wife or girlfriend that yes, your partner, wasted a bunch of your time and a bunch of your money by you. Now again, and it's not fair because she probably is. Oh my god, like it's gonna cost this much, and they're just ripping me off. And he's like, hey, I took shop in high school, I can do this. And we ended up this wonderful situation, and then so they're the people that get online. So every time somebody sees me and they're like, wow, you're really going hard on that comment or on your thread, and it's like, yeah, because that's what I see. That's the reality of what I think. There are going to be the ones next week in there that did something like that and didn't either burp the air out after they put the thermostat in, or didn't put the shims on with the new brakes. They're going to be somebody like that. And when they're
Mhm.
sitting there telling me I should allow customer supplied parts, no, moron, I shouldn't, because this is what happens. I
Yeah.
realize it's not a customer supplied parts, but you would bring me a box of pads that was so cheap that they didn't send new shims, and then I gotta make the shims fit. My guy in the wash bay this week, right? He's over there with a brand new set of pads, grinding the paint off the ears of the caliper of the pads to get them to fit in the saddle. And I tried to tell him, like, you should never have to grind the pads. You got rust, but he argued with me, and I'm like, okay, it's your car, man. Like, you want the pads to float in the saddle, go grind the paint off. It don't matter to me. It's like,
Yep.
you've got the cheapest set of pads you can find at Canadian Tire. This is what's going to happen. There's no new shims in the box. Like, you're putting new pads on the old rotor. I get it. It's all you, boo. Like, you do you.
Yep.
As my brother Lucas says, you do you, boo boo. Like, it's
Yeah. Some, like, don't get me wrong. I'm all for trying to like save a buck. Nobody. You, everything's just expensive. You want to try and like save where you can, but like, to me, maintenance on your car, that's not one of the things you want to cheap out on. Like,
yeah,
am I saying like, prime example, like tires, like, do you need to spend the money on like Michelin's or something? Absolutely not. If
yeah,
you want to, you can. It's totally up to you. But I got some, I don't even know what they are. Some off brand something on my wife's car. They are a spitting image of like an all
yeah.
season tire that Michelin offers. And let me tell you, great, awesome, love
Yep.
it, and it was half the price.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
I used to say it, and I haven't really deviated too much. They're round, black, and made of rubber, man, and they hold air sometimes, and that's it's whatever you want to pay for. I
yep,
don't believe most people now, most cars, are really going to benefit from $1,000 set of Michelin's when up here you can buy a $600 set of Antares,
yeah,
and we put them on where I work a lot, and we don't have them coming back. People coming in going, these things are, shaking, or these things are wear. Now, do they last quite as long in terms of tread and wear? No, they're probably a softer compound, and they do
for
wear
sure.
off a little faster. But like, they're wearing off at about the time that the customer's getting rid of the car anyway. So I mean, like, what's the sense in having? Nothing makes me laugh more than you walk around the junkyard and you see something there parked with like really expensive full tread tires on it, and you're like, you just don't get it. You just wasted that money. But I mean, it isn't. I can only counsel so much, and people just don't want to listen.
Yep.
I believe that that's like, and I get it. They're what touches the tire to the road, right? Is the tire, but we get so many nails up here, and we have so many people now that are like doing the winter tire thing where they're stripping them off the rims, and it's just not nothing is stupider than buying really expensive rubber and then tearing it off the rim again twice a year to go and put on your snow. That's just dumb to me. And you probably been through that too, right? Like it just don't make no sense.
Yeah. Like between that and then just here lately in, in Rochester, the expressways up here. Oh man, they
Mm-hmm.
have taken a beating this year, and like it, doing when I was working for the other bus garage, I had a part time job being a New York State help operator, which was a
Okay.
roadside like a highway emergency roadside service that was a free service provided by the state. Your tax dollars paid for it,
Cool.
and how like and we would go out help people like they get a flat tire. If they have a flat tire, if they have a spare, we could put it on for them. Just we would do it during prime time hours, the rush hour, morning and afternoon.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many, probably my last 3 or 4 months doing that, how many flat tires that we were having, or yeah, probably more like 2 months now that the snow is finally let off because of how bad the potholes here are,
Yeah.
and it would be just in the same spot over and over and over again, like, and people would be
Well,
getting pissed, and it's like I don't know what to tell you. Like there is the 1-800 number you can call for potholes. You can take it up with the state to try and like, pay for like the damages and whatnot. Like that is all there. How that all works, I have no idea. I'm just here to try and help you as best I can. If you have a spare tire, I can gladly put it on for you and get you back on your way.
yeah.
Why aren't you out there fixing them? Because that's not what I do, ma'am. That's not what I do. That's actually the residency that comes out here and fills those.
There's a pothole 6 miles from me right now that is so infamous in my local area that it now has its own Facebook page, and it's taking out like a victim every night at rush hour. Somebody's going, they're pulled up in front of the same gas station with like, a bent rim and a flat tire. And it's like, why are they not fixing this yet? And it's like, probably because if we fix it now and then we get another dump and another freeze, all that fill that's going in there is going to crack. Well, listen, I understand, but I
Yep.
think it's pretty monumental that like its own pothole has its own Facebook page now. It's pretty freaking cool. So,
Oh yeah. With
for the people, but you just have to laugh. I mean, without getting political, guys, sometimes how we vote.
well, and like for me at least, like being out there and like seeing this, like there would be nights like like there was one day on my way home, I was clocked out returning the truck back to our staging area and parking it for the night, and there's like four. It's like 7 o'clock. There's like 4 or 5 sets of taillights
Yeah.
just spaced out, sitting on the shoulder, and it's like, what is going on here? Every single one of them had a flat
Hmm.
tire. Actually, one of them only three out of the four had two flat tires, each on the same side, and like a couple of them I'd go up to, they'd be like, yeah, I just had new tires put on because I hit one freaking the other day, blah 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 blah. It's like, okay, so not for nothing, like they're here, the road's terrible, and like yeah, I know you got to be on like Facebook or something. You see everybody blowing it up, like
Yeah.
go a different way. Is it
I
going
was
to
just
take you a little? Is it going to take you a little longer to get home? Yeah, but at least you're not going to have to go buy a whole nother rim and tire or two and then pay for a tow. Like it's common sense. Like my sister asked me about it, if they had fixed it yet, and I was like, no, I would tell you, take the long way to go to Costco. Like don't go down the expressway. It's not worth it.
Well, you know what they say, Christopher? Common sense is not so common. So,
Yeah, no, it's really not.
anyway, dude, I will let you go. I want to thank you for being on with our you know with our analogies about potholes, and I hope that everybody that's listening, try to steer around them. Pay attention to Facebook by all means. keep doing the political stuff on Facebook that you're doing. I love that. But when you hear people talking about potholes, pay attention. Take a different way home. Get in the other flipping lane. That's the other thing too, right? Like,
Yeah.
there might be a reason that more people are in the left-hand lane than in the slow lane. And I get it. If you're in the left-hand lane, people want you to maybe drive a little bit faster and maybe they tailgate you. But hey, I'd rather be tailgated and not get a pothole destroying my rim, but that's just me. It's like Brother Lucas says, you do you, boo boo. So
Yeah, pretty much. Amen, man. I totally,
Chris,
totally agree.
all the best to you, man, in this new job. I think that's awesome that you're there. I'm going to try when I'm coming through back from Pennsylvania, if I have time, I'm going to try and stop, in around Rochester or something like that. There's another guy, his episode will be coming out here in a week or two. I want to say he's up near Adams, and we're talking about getting together and having a pint before I cross over and go home. So if we can at all squeeze you in, man, I'll drop by and see what you're doing. So, but if we can't, we always say on here, like, thank you for being on, and hopefully, we'll have you on again and we can see how the job is doing and, the things you're running into. And, by all means, if you get stuck on something, reach out to me. And, I'm pretty connected now with some of the smartest people in the world. And we can probably get you some guidance if you're stuck on something, or if you just need to vent. That's the other thing, guys. If you just need to vent, by all means, reach out to me and share what's going on, because, going forward, we want to have, a lot more people with a lot more positive experience from this industry. And mental health is a real thing. And if you just need to vent, my door's always open. But in an analogy of, like, you can always reach out to me here and tell me what's going on and what you need to unload with, and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can and at least hear what you have to say. I can only do so much. But I would rather that you unload on me than unload sometimes on your coworkers or, your wife or your kids or whatever. Come share it with me. I can probably tell you that I've been there and give you a way to get through it. So, Christopher, thank you, man. This was a lot of fun. So
Thank you, sir, for having me on here. Like I said, I've just been one of your listeners, and like
I appreciate it.
you inspired me with like doing the change along with my wife, helped me along with that, and I can't thank you enough. And it was awesome experience being able to come on here and chit chat with you, and be able to pick your brain on a few things here, and glad we were able to settle with Timmy Hose is the way to go instead of that Starbucks crap.
For sure. Duncan's is probably number 2 if I can't. And do you have Stewart's?
No, not here. That's more the southern tier, and like southeast of or out east and southern tier of New York. You'll start getting into Stewart's. We have more of a Burn Dairies here.
Okay, they got good sandwiches too at Burn Dairy.
Burn Dairy's got some pretty fire deli sandwiches there.
That's right. So that's your education for this week, people. If you're coming through Rochester, grab a sandwich at Burn Dairy. In Watertown, they got Stewart's. So maybe when I'm coming through at some point, Christopher, I'll grab you a coffee from Stewart's, because our buddy Tommy that we mentioned at the beginning on Tug Hill, I think he leaves the shop like 3 times a day to go get Stewart's coffee. He's completely addicted, and I've had it. It's really good. It's at all the Stewart's gas stations. It's great coffee. So everybody, as always, I love you. Thanks for listening. Try to be 1% better tomorrow than you were today. Take care of your baymates. Be nice to one another. Thank you as always to my family at Promotive and my family at TechMetric and our new partners here with Launch Tech USA. We love all of you and we appreciate what you do for us. And, everybody just keep plugging along, man. It'll get better for you. Everybody, when you think you're in a spot where, it seems hard and it seems like you can't, this might not be the industry for you. You're probably where you need to be in terms of you're in the right industry. It's like Christopher's shared with me. It just sometimes makes a slight change to where you work or how you approach the job, and all of a sudden you'll find that passion for it again. So everybody just stay passionate about what we're doing. We're doing amazing things, and I love you all. So all the best to you. Thank you for listening. We'll see you again next week. So thank you again for watching that episode of the Jaded Mechanic Podcast. If you want to watch the next episode that we have coming up, you need to click right here. And if you want to join us on this wonderful journey of change in the industry, become part of the family, click right here. Thank you.